Hi, and welcome back to Tell Me a Story by Teresa. And today's our last chapter, chapter 32, and it's called Peter Rabbit's Nursery. So let's get started. With home, the home you call your own, it really doesn't matter where. There is no place in all the world that ever will or can compare. Peter Rabbit. The news was out at last, thanks to Blacky the Crow. Peter Rabbit had a family. Yes, sir, Peter Rabbit had a family. Right away, the Old Briar patch became the most interesting place on the Green Meadows to all the little people who lived there and in the nearby Green Forest. Of course, all of Peter's friends called as soon as ever they could. They found Peter looking very proud and very important and very happy. Mrs. Peter looked just as proud and just as happy, but she also looked very anxious. You see, while she was very glad to have so many friends call, there were also other visitors. That is, they were not exactly callers, but they hung around the outside of the Old Briar patch, and they seemed quite as much interested as the friends who really called. Indeed, they seemed more interested. Who were they? Why, Reddy Fox was one. Then there was Old Man Coyote, also Redtail the Hawk and Digger the Badger, and just at dusk, Hooty the Owl. They all seemed very much interested indeed, but every time little Miss Peter saw them she shivered. You see, she couldn't help think that there was a dreadful hungry look in their eyes, and if the truth is to be told, they're probably right. But happy-go-lucky Peter Rabbit didn't let this worry him. Hadn't he grown up from the tiny-weeny baby and been smart enough to escape all those dangers which worried Miss Peter so? And if he could do it, of course his own babies could do it, with him to teach them and show them how. Besides, they were too little to go outside of the Old Briar patch now. Indeed, they were too little to go outside their nursery, which was in a clump of sweet briar bushes in the very middle of the Old Briar patch, and Peter felt that there they were perfectly safe. It isn't time to worry yet, said Peter to little Miss Peter, as he saw the fright in her eyes as the shadow of Redtail passed over them. I don't believe in borrowing trouble. Time enough to worry when there is something to worry about, and that won't be until these little scallywags of ours are big enough to run around and get into mischief. Did you ever see such beautiful babies in all your life? For a minute, the worried look left little Miss Peter, and she gazed at the four little helpless babies fondly. No, she replied softly, I never did. Oh, Peter, they are perfectly lovely. This one is the perfect image of you, and I'm going to call him Little Pete. And don't you think his brother looks like his grandfather? I think we'll call him Little Jed. Peter coughed behind his hand as if something had stuck in his throat. He had no love for Little Jed's grandfather, Old Jed Thumper, the big gray old rabbit, who had tried so hard to drive him from the pasture, but he didn't say anything. If Mrs. Peter wanted to name this one Little Jed, he wouldn't say a word. Aloud, he said, I think, my dear, that this one looks just as you must have looked when you were little, and so we'll call her Fuzzy, and her sister we'll call Wuzzy, called Peter. Was ever there such a splendid nursery for baby rabbits? I don't believe there ever was, Peter. It's better than my old nursery in the old pasture, replied little Miss Peter, as with a sigh of perfect happiness she stretched out beside their four babies. And Peter softly tiptoed away in the near sweet clover patch, with his heart almost bursting with pride. Of the doing of Peter and Miss Peter Rabbit and their four children there are many more stories. So so many that one book will not hold all of them. Besides, Bowser the Hound insists that I must write a book about him, and I have promised to do it right away. So the next book will be Bowser the Hound. So I hope you enjoyed our story about Miss Peter. And if you did, please like and subscribe. And our next story will be Peter and Wendy. So come back tomorrow and we'll have a brand new story. So until then, bye.